This is an IMap Invasive Species training for arborists. And we're going to go over invasive species ID as well as forest pests and pathogens. Again, if you want ISA credits, as Abby just said, maybe you're hopping on, you can sign in using the chat feature, add your full name, your email, and ISA certification number. And again, at the end, you need to sign out with just your full name. So we're here tonight as the LISMA team, the Long Island Invasive Species Management Area. That is made up of Bill Jacobs, our program manager, Abby Bezrutsik, our field project and outreach coordinator, and myself, Haley, who is the invasive species specialist. And we'll talk more about LISMA later, and we're also really grateful to be here with the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County. But a little about what is an invasive species. So an invasive species is a non-native species, one that's been introduced to a new place or a new type of habitat where it's been not previously found, one that's disruptive to the balance of the ecosystem and does so through a number of tactics. Some of these tactics are ability to rapidly spread, the ability to reproduce in high numbers, a lack of predators, and changing the physiology of an ecosystem to favor its own survival. Because of these qualities, we consider invasive species harmful and a threat to our environment, our economy, and human health. So a few examples of some invasive species. We have all the way on the left, we have giant hogweed, which not only displaces native plants, but more importantly to us, it produces a phytophototoxic sap, which can cause really bad burns that can require medical treatment. In the middle there, we have emerald ash borer, which some of you may be already aware of. As they destroy a number of our ash trees, actually all of our ash trees, which are really important trees to us as they provide habitat and ecosystems for insects and birds. And it was once quite a predominant tree, and now we're seeing a decline in it because of these insects that go in and eat their different vascular systems. And then lastly, we have northern snakeheads, which are an air-breathing fish that can survive out of the water up to 4 days and move around really easily from one body of water to another. They displace our commercially important fish as they overconsume them. They fight with them for habitat space, as well as eat the fish that those fish would be eating. And if you want, you can take a moment and log in. You can copy this pull everywhere, pullev.com/happymarsh623 into your web browser on your phone, wherever is accessible to you. And we're just going to ask you a quick little question to see if you're all awake. So we just want to know, what invasive species, pests, or diseases have you encountered recently? Or maybe you're the most concerned about, or maybe you just heard about it and you just are like, ah, I want to talk about it. So you can throw it in there and we'll see a little, I believe, a word cloud of these different species. Yeah. That's the one I would have said. Definitely a concern. Kudzu. Yeah. I don't know, is there, there's some kudzu on Long Island that we were talking about the other day, correct?
Yep. Is fortunately.
So someone said in the chat, lanternfly, yeah, spotted lanternfly. We're seeing a lot more people talking about it, which is great, but also sad that we're seeing them. Stiltgrass question mark. Oh yeah, stiltgrass exclamation point. That's how I feel when I walk into my yard. Is stiltgrass. Yeah, Japanese stiltgrass is it's a big one. Yeah, that's more like it. Again, yeah, beech leaf. Princess tree. Yeah, we saw a massive one in the Pine Barrens pretty recently.
I saw one at an arboretum that was very alarming.
I love an arboretum. I think some people are putting things in the chat too that I might not be seeing. Oh, 95 beech leaf. Okay, cool. Yeah. These are some good ones.
If you feel like the chat works better for you, go ahead and put it in the chat too.
Okay, beech leaf disease again. Cool. All right, well, maybe we'll be thinking about a lot more by the end of this talk. Some coming in maybe.
There we go.
Hogweed. Yeah. Okay. So right, like we can sit here, make a whole list of of all these pests and diseases, then invasive weeds that we're facing. But it's important to remember why we put up the good fight against them and what we're here to protect. So here on Long Island, we're the most diverse ecological region in New York. We have inland, coastal, freshwater, and marine interfaces. We have extremely rare vegetation communities. We have beautiful maritime grasslands. We have the dwarf pine plains and the coastal plain ponds, as well as really cool swamp, white oak, red maple forests. And of course, we can't forget the pine barrens, which sit on top of our sole source aquifer and filter all of our water. Within these really cool ecosystems, we have a number of rare species. If you go to any one of these communities, you might come across an incredible organism like some bladderworts, piping plovers, or eastern mud turtles. So it's really great to not only, think about, all these pests, but what are we doing here? This is what we're saving. The next slide. Yeah. So what we're here to do as Long Island Invasive Species Management Area is conserve Long Island's biodiversity and all the services these ecosystems provide us through several strategies. Firstly, we coordinate invasive species monitoring, management, and outreach among stakeholders and partners within our region. We rank invasive species so that everyone knows what our priorities are and what their priorities kind of should be in different places. So we do this through our tier ranking system that helps us to understand the extent to which a species is present in our region, as well as its impact or potential impact in these areas. Our biggest goal overall is to prevent and eradicate new invasive species infestations before they become established. So that's kind of how we help ourselves to prioritize and help you to prioritize as well. We share expertise on monitoring, management, restoration, and help where we can. We get tons of emails, questions, we attend tabling events, and we like to hear about, events like this, hear about what you guys are having trouble with and what we're having trouble with and communicate on that. Lastly, we connect Long Island, the Long Island region's community to keep our partners updated on those resources and tools that they can use to combat invasive species. As research is happening every day, we want to make it go from the, academia to people on the ground. So with that, we are a voluntary partnership of many organizations from the geographic area that includes Long Island, Staten Island, Queens, Brooklyn, and 11 additional coastal plain islands. And we're all part of this greater PRISM system, the Partners for Regional Invasive Species Management, that are all over New York State. So it's not just us on Long Island, ranking these species, prioritizing, figuring out what to do and how to create these resources. We're a part of this greater system, and we talk constantly so that we can help a lot of people like you. So with that, I think we're going to talk about iMapInvasives first.
Yeah, thanks, Haley. I'm Abby. I'm the Field Project and Outreach Coordinator for LISMA. And we're here to talk about mapping, but why is mapping important at all? How does it relate to invasive species? Well, mapping helps you, in this case, and with iMapInvasives, would help you keep track of your own observations of things that you're encountering. It can help a broader community keep track of outbreaks and also detect patterns, being able to say, oh, beach leaf disease is like here and here and here and here. You're able to actually see that on a map. It can alert people to new infestations and issues. You can see in a few minutes that there's a way you could set up email alerts for a particular species that you're interested in. We use that all the time to be able to say, oh, beach leaf disease is here. And now we get a new data point and we can even, see that in person. And also, mapping in this case helps with early detection and rapid response, and that can really make a difference. So when something is detected early enough, potentially that species can be eradicated. It doesn't become a huge problem on Long Island. We can effectively protect Long Island's amazing ecology and all the other things we care about. So we're going to be talking about iMapInvasives and also a little bit about iNaturalist. So what is iMapInvasives? Simply, it's a way to map invasive species and have all the data in one place in a common place across New York State, but I think also across the country. It's used both by professionals and citizen scientists, and we're all using it towards this common goal to protect our natural resources from the threat of invasive species. It says here it's a GIS-based invasive species data management system. That's a fancy way of saying, well, GIS, Geographic Information System, is a computer system for capturing, storing, checking, and displaying data related to positions on the Earth's surface. A fancy way of saying it's a lot of data laid on a map. So if you use Google Maps, you're using a type of geographic information system. It's you got the layers that have the roads and the traffic and your favorite restaurant or something. iMapInvasives uses a similar kind of technology to be able to display data, in this case invasive species data, on a map. iMapInvasives is also a partnership between the New York Natural Heritage Program, SUNY ESF, and NatureServe, funding provided by New York State Environmental Protection Fund. And it's a database that's, well, we have our own particular website, New York iMapInvasive, so it's designed for these purposes. It's tailored to a regional species and needs, so something we like to use, we also like to get other people to use because everybody benefits. So why should you use this? Well, IMAP takes data from many places. You could put inputs and observations on your phone. You could put input observations on your information on your computer, and all in one database. And to be able to, once that information there, you can also get the output of that information and see, invasive species across the landscape in real time. It's a free and simple tool, free, very important, and it has desktop and mobile applications. And like I said, it keeps everybody on the same page. So while this presentation focuses on the basic IMAP app, Imap Mobile App, and Imap Online for recording observations, if you have an Esri account, if you have that through your organization, perhaps you can link it with apps to expand its functionality. So we use some of these more advanced features of it. But in this case, this will probably give you all you really need to know. And there's a lot of capabilities just within this. So I just wanted to expand it a little bit so you can see even how this can be expanded. So one more question before we jump into the screen sharing part. What mapping software, if any, have you used in the past, professionally or otherwise? There's a lot of different ones out there. And sometimes I'm just interested in hearing if there are, I've heard of like Avenza maps and I don't know, a lot of different kind of maps that people use. If we're interested in hearing if you use something professionally. None. Good. Not even Google Maps, Waze. Again, if the chat works for you better, you can also chat there. ArcGIS Tree works. I don't know that one. Haley, do you know that one?
No, but I'm going to look into it later.
I'm a Google Maps fan. I'm like always telling people Google Maps is better. I like that it tells me what lane I'm supposed to go in. That's my favorite part. I need to know.
Someone said Ursi Field Maps in the chat.
By Nassau Property. I'm also in Nassau County, so I don't know that app though, or application.
We also got Survey 123 in the chat, which that one.
Survey 123 is great. We use that too. Okay, I'll just give it a few more seconds. Is any others coming in? Fulcrum. This is really great to know. We're going to look up all of these to get to see what people are using out there. Okay, I'm going to click through. Okay, so with that, hopefully you're able to see some benefits of using iMapInvasives in this presentation, maybe alongside mapping software you already use. So like I said, there's an online application of it and also an app. So we're going to start with the online version. Your home base would be NewYork.iMapInvasives.org. So that's where we're going to go to first. Pretty sure I already have that tab open now. So this is just the New York iMapInvasives website. There's tons of information here if you want to explore at your own pace too. There's easy ways where you can report an invasive right from here. Other data and maps, dashboards if you're a part of a project, species tiers, as Haley was talking about, you can explore some of that here. Other training resources, if this isn't enough for you and you want to take the next step and learn more, there's all sorts of self-guided trainings, requesting help, and other, so maybe those other applications I talked about, you could learn more about here. Tons of species information, we'll get to that too. And also just learn more about what iMapInvasives is. So before I log in, I wanted to show the public map. So even without making an account, you can access a lot of information that's in the iMapInvasives database. So I'm not even logged in yet. So yeah, you don't need an account to see the map at all. And you can see things like finding records, filter records, identify and measure. We'll get to all those things. But if you want to upload an observation of your own, whether that's in the field, you have your phone and you want to take a picture of it and put it on this map, or if you're back at your home base and you want to upload observations that you saw while you were out, you would need to make an account. So here's how you sign up. Pretty simple information, your first name, last name, email, and then I just wanted to highlight jurisdiction. This is where you would just select New York. It basically the primary area where you'll be collecting data. So I'm assuming all of us are from New York, but assume it could be anything. And then once I think there's like a confirmation email kind of thing to just finish setting up your account. And then you would just log in right up here once you make your account. So it's this pretty similar view once you're logged in, except you have a few more expanded features that we'll also go through. But we're going to start by just exploring and manipulating the map. So most importantly, here's the legend. That'll come up automatically. And as you can see here, you got all these orange circles that are showing, these are just the general invasive species that are all around New York in a more summary view, because if you zoom in, you'll see there's a lot of different points. So this will actually change as you zoom in. Zoom functions over here, just like in Google Maps. And we'll go to Long Island. Once you get to a certain level, it changes from that summary orange circle to the points. And this takes a little bit longer to load because there's a lot of points that it's trying to load at once. But it'll be showing you these confirmed species points, line data. If you're tracking maybe along a border, you see a lot of the same thing all at once, you might take a line. And also polygons. That will be this rectangle. And centroids, pretty sure that's similar to points. I think it's a way of like transferring data. It'll come up as a centroid. I also want to show you that you could change the base map if this map doesn't work for you, or you want to see maybe where a trail is to access that place. You might want to change it to the satellite view, just like in other, maybe a different kind of street view or light gray if you're trying to take a screenshot of this map to make it simpler. Always good to be able to change the base map. And it would also be good to there's a way to activate layers. So on my account, I'm able to see unconfirmed present species because part of what I do at LISMA is being able to confirm maybe your observations of something to say, oh yes, that is beach leaf disease. I know how to recognize it. So I'm able to see these unconfirmed present species to be able to do that action, but pretty sure on a normal account, you can't see all the unconfirmed ones. But there's other layers that you can access. Treatment layers, we'll talk about that later. You might want to see where you have treated a certain tree or whatever you're doing, and keeping track of the actions that you're doing to manage invasive species. And also searched areas. We'll get into that in a second when we do create a record. So there's a lot of layers that you can access there. I also wanted to show a little bit over here. Obviously that's zoom in and out. Your home map will just zoom you all the way out. I don't want to do that because it's taking a little time to get here. Find your location if you have that activated on your computer, and also search on a map, just an easy way to get to wherever you're trying to access, so you can search right there. So now that I've gone through all the things on the outside, let's start exploring the data. I'm going to start here with filter records, because this is what I use the most. You have a lot of different fields that pop up. Filter on an observer. If maybe you're looking for things that only you entered, you might want to put in your own name there. Or I mostly would say I want to filter by species. So somebody mentioned beech leaf disease nematode, or beech leaf disease. In here it's entered as beech leaf disease nematode. So I would put that in there. There's other things you can do. Species type. So say you wanted to, maybe I get rid of that. You just wanted to see the microorganisms that are on the list, or growth habit. That's more for plants, habitat type, kingdom, genus, lots of ways to filter. Filter by record. Organization, probably not something you need to worry about. And projects and jurisdiction, we're all in New York. So let's just go back to beech leaf disease nematode. And it'll take a second to load. I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I've zoomed out so far. We got the orange things again. And here are the observations of beech leaf disease nematode on Long Island. So I want to use this to show the identify and measure tool. This is also a very useful one. If, say, you have a particular area that you're working on and you want to see the invasive species records that have been put in for that particular property, you might want to, before you go, check out what are the invasive species there. And so because of that, you might want to select an area. To do that, sorry, maybe I did that too quickly. To do that, you hit area, and then I'm just clicking to draw a polygon, and when I'm done, I double click it I click it twice. And then I'm doing see what's here. So for this, I've already filtered to beech leaf disease nematode. That's the only thing that's going to pop up. But you can imagine if there were maybe several invasive species here, all those different invasive species would pop up. I'm able to see a report of it, who reported it. And maybe for this one, I'll go to details to look a little bit more at what a report is. And you can see the person that did it, this was someone that worked at LISMA before me, entered beech leaf disease nematode last year. More about the location. And then the comments that they put in when they made this observation. This is a general species photo. And then also the person that verified it said this is beech leaf disease nematode. So you can see there's that accountability in it. So this one is confirmed, not confidential. You're able to see it. And that's what the presence record looks like. You could also, I believe, export this, see what's here, in a report. So say you wanted to do a report, you wanted to take this into the field, you wanted to know exactly what's on this property, you can do export report, and then export records. I think this is actually taking all the beech leaf disease that's on Long Island. Okay, and it said it's a success. It's told me where everything is. So if you wanted to take this data and maybe put it on your own GIS application, on your own map that's downloaded on your desktop, this is a way to export data from iMapInvasives and do whatever you want with it. So it downloads a CSV file, easy to put into ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS 10. I'm just gonna hit ignore because I don't need that right now. And okay, so if I did this, then it would only select the thing in the current map extent, which means to what I'm zoomed into. If I wanted to say, I want to get a report of all the species in the area and download it, then I would do the same thing of, drawing a polygon again. And then it would give me that report of everything that's in that polygon. So I find that to be a very useful tool. There's other reports here, report type. I've never used those. Okay, but the real magic in here is creating a record. I have mostly used iMapInvasives to create records in the field, but if you would like to use this to do it on your desktop, that's definitely a very functional thing to do on here. So there's 4 different types of records that you can enter into iMapInvasives. A presence record, which just be an observation. You see the species, there's a presence. A treatment record, so say you've treated that species, you want to record that you've done something there, you maybe want to return back to it so that you're tracking the progress of that treatment. That's an important thing to be able to do. Not detected record, that is really important for us. Maybe you've gone out and you'd say, I want to be looking at this place, I want to see if there's beach-like disease in any of these properties and in this forest, and you don't see it. That's great. We would love to know that. We want to know that somebody went out and didn't see something that's really important data that's really lacking in just the whole world of this data. And lastly, there's a multi-record search area. That's kind of combining all these things in one. So I'll get to that in a second, but it's kind of like you searched a whole property, let's say, and you want to put in a lot of points at once of a lot of different species. It makes it easier to do that with that kind of record. So I won't take too long on this. But for a presence record, there's pretty simple fields. So let's say we're here and I found an invasive species at this spot. I know I was there, or maybe I had the coordinates, I wrote them down. And I want to say that I found something here. You can put a buffer around it if you'd like. I'm just going to not do that. And hit next. Present species, I'm gonna hit fake species just so I don't mess up the data, but here's where you would type in, say you find beach disease nematode or anything else. I'll put in a fake species. Your observer is automatically there because I'm logged in. The date is automatically there. And here you could add a photo. You can say the number of them found, the distribution, whether it's trace, sparse, dense, monoculture, or scattered, and comments. I think the only things that you have to put in, you can skip a lot of these, but try to make it as complete as possible. Then if you're really into it, there's also some extra details that you can put in with any presence record, such as evaluation type, just maybe if you're monitoring for it, if you're assessing it before treatment, after treatment. If it's a follow-up visit, the impact that you think it has there. If for some reason you're doing a biocontrol assessment, there's a lot of different things that you can put in there. But these are the main essential details, and you'll see these same fields on the app that Haley will show in a few minutes. So that is our presence record. I'm going to hit complete. Because when you do a treatment record, it's over here now. You need to have a point that you are referring to already. So the point already needs to be in there. I'm going to say that I did a treatment right here of my fake species. That looks good. When you began it, when you ended it, whether it's your first treatment or a follow-up, and then any comments you want to put on that. Also, you could add a photo. If you have a project in here, you could put your project and something about treatment type, physical, chemical, or biological. A great way to be collecting this data. And then you can get even more specific. If it's physical, what kind of physical? Barrier, we're going to say that we grazed it. We got some goats. Goats. And we got rid of our fake species. And there's your treatment record. As you can see, there's a lot more details of data that you can put in there. But it's completed. So we just treated an invasive species, guys. Just to put these a little quickly, a not detected record is very similar. We got a point. And it's basically said we didn't detect it. So it's great data. Might not be as intuitive for you to think to put down, but if you do remember to put down, I didn't see this here, it's a great thing for us. And then lastly, this searched area thing, I'll just go through it quickly. because it's a little bit, it's kind of putting everything together here. So you have a polygon and say you found in multiple different species that you were looking at. Here's where you can add those things in. So now that I've drawn a searched area, now I'm going to say, okay, I found this thing in the searched area. And this is where you get back to putting a species in, our fake species, same fields as before. Again, it's just putting it all together. And so again, now we have the option to add another presence record because we've looked at a lot of things in this one searched area. So that's basically how it differs from maybe putting in a single point. It makes it easier for you to put in a bunch of things at once. I'm just going to X out of that one though. And in this, I also just wanted to highlight how confirming works. So when this observation goes up, there are experts all around the state that it gets referred to. Sometimes they get referred to us, and we go in and we say, yes, this is what you suggested that it is, or maybe not, maybe this is not what you suggested that it is. We also have some alerts set up for particular species that we're interested in, and then from doing that, we can confirm them. I'll go to that briefly. So email alerts, there's this hamburger menu thing, they call it, in the upper left corner. I'll go through a few of these in more detail, but just to skip to your email alerts. I have a bunch set up already, so don't be overwhelmed by this. This is just, I went through the time to put in that I wanted it to alert me of all of these different species because these are all what we classify as tier 2 species. But it's pretty simple to add an alert. It's just saying that you want it to be alerted at some frequency of this particular species, and then you put in the species name. So if you're interested in that, I definitely recommend doing that. It's a really easy way to keep track of some of these species. An easy reminder, it's not too many emails. You set the frequency as much as you want. So yeah, just a great way to keep track of species that you might be interested in keeping track of. And also, if you have any questions, if I'm going through anything too fast, please let me know. I'd be happy to go back. And I think I've lost the chat now. So if Haley, you want to let me know if anybody has any questions, that would be fantastic.
You're good.
So I haven't gone through all these yet. Find record is one I don't find particularly useful. It's if you have the particular number of the record that you've already put in, then you might want to use this to find that specific record. So I've already lost the number that I did for this, but just to show that it works. Record. Oh, here it is. So we could just say we weren't really cared about that one. We could find the record and it would come to us. And there it is. It works. Okay, now one last thing on this. I wanted just to show you this great wealth of information about these invasive species, which is the jurisdiction species list. Remember, the jurisdiction, that's just saying New York's species list, the species we're concerned about here, the species that we see here. So again, I went to this little hamburger on the side, jurisdiction species list. It's already highlighted New York because it knows that's our jurisdiction. And it's kind of just a database of all these invasive species that are in the area. So there's some cool filters that you can activate for species type. If we just want to look at microorganisms, we can learn about oak wilt there. If we want to just see things that are in a particular habitat type, great way to see it. Apparently a fake species is a terrestrial species. Semi-aquatic. And then this was interesting. If it's regulated, you can filter by that. So I want to see just the ones that are regulated in New York, meaning that there's some restrictions that are put on selling it or information that you need to share with it about before you sell it. And it could also show maybe species that should be prohibited but are still on the landscape. So those are some of the filters. Also, just to search for about beech leaf disease nematode. here's just some general information that you have about it. So if you want to reference this at all, it's a great source. Since it's still pretty new, there's not a ton of information on beech leaf disease. It shows this nematode as a pathogen source of diagnostic leaf galls, the striping. And then there's also a link to an external information page just to get more information on it. So yeah, and then you can learn more about beech leaf disease from there. I think that's all I wanted to highlight. And before I pass it off to Haley, who's just going to show how you might enter a record in the mobile app, are there any questions?
We do have a question in the chat, Abby. Linda asked, if you travel elsewhere, can you report using dropdown for other states?
Dropdown for other states. You can definitely report from other states. And just because their jurisdiction is New York doesn't mean you can't report from another state at all. You can definitely report from anywhere. As you can see, maybe I didn't stay along this for a while, but iMapInvasives is in many different parts of the country already. So if you go to another state, you can definitely enter data there. If that answers your question.
Another question. So from Marjorie, she asked, do you get alerts when things are confirmed or before the observation is confirmed?
Haley, do you know the answer to that one?
Do you get alerts when things are confirmed or before? So you get them when they are confirmed. I mean, the only time maybe you might get an alert before something is confirmed, maybe someone at IMAP was confused about the post you made. Like maybe it wasn't a clear picture or something that was just really weird. Maybe they'll reach out to you in an email. It won't be an alert. It'll probably just be an email. So almost definitely no. It would just be a confirmation email.
Mm-hmm.
And they look like these little boxes that just says your ID, like the ID number of the species and then the species name and where it was confirmed.
Right, it's something that would be emailed to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever email you use to sign up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, one more question.
Any sightings?
The box tree moth. Ooh, let's look.
Look.
Yeah, if you have anybody want to publicly search for this box tree moth. Apparently not. I think maybe I'm looking at, do you have a Latin name? Apparently I cannot search for that yet. Maybe it's not yet on IMAP, but I can search for boxwood.
That's a good point though. Oh,
we should ask to get that up there.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's another great thing about iMapInvasives is that we know the people that work on this software. So it's really a collaborative thing. They email us all the time with questions about things that we entered, and we can ask them and give them feedback on this system. So unlike Google, you can't email Google to ask about an update to their Google Maps, but you can, there's definitely like a collaborative aspect to this that we could ask them, hey, we want to be able to track box tree moth. Can we get that up there so we can track observations? That's something we do all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so great that we can connect with partners like CCE, and as they're seeing things, we can work with the people that we're already connected with to make this data more cohesive for everyone. Yeah, you can try to start. Do you see that in the chat, Abby?
Yes, I do.
I'm not one I've said out loud yet before, so
I'm gonna try it. I did think.
Is it there? Yeah.
Is it there? I think it is.
Okay. So, but for some reason the common name isn't coming up. Thanks, Mina. Okay. There's no sightings or it's just not actually a species on there yet.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, unfortunately.
Maybe if you go up the state, maybe there's more. If it is on there, maybe it might be somewhere else. Someone said check Buffalo.
Buffalo. Let's go to
Oh,
Buffalo.
it might be yellow. Oh, is that a little green dot? No. Okay. Well, we'll look into that. because we should track it.
Great.
Right. Good questions.
And we'll be here if you come up with any more questions. You can definitely feel free to ask. Also, I don't know if I should have stopped sharing screen.
Yeah, you're good.
We're
gonna.
Oh yes, now it's your turn with the Imap Mobile App.
So share screen. There we go. All right. Bear with us because it was being a little funky earlier. It might be a Wi-Fi related thing. Okay. So here we are on the Imap mobile app. I am already logged in. The login is quite similar. It looks almost identical to the web browser, actually. So you just put in the info that you've already set up, and then it'll take you to this screen. So the first thing we're going to do, say you're already out in the field. I have a few species in here. We'll get to those, but you're in the field and you see, let's say, beech leaf disease, and you want to snap a picture of it. You can go ahead and add the observation. So you go and you can take a photo if you're out in the field, or maybe you're just you have it already saved. You have it saved from somewhere else. So I have a bunch of plants on here. None of them are invasive species though. But you would take it from there and it would load it. We could just use one of these whitewood asters. Aha. So the date could not be determined, the date and location. But if you do take the photo right from here, it will already upload your date, location, and everything else. So you would go ahead and you would select the species. So right now it says none selected. You could scroll down. I have all of mine set to the Latin names, but you can change that. We'll talk about settings in a bit. And unfortunately, you can't just search if you know that you're just looking for maybe beech leaf disease, or maybe you're looking for miscanthus. You'd have to scroll all the way down to L. And it's there somewhere. So we can talk more about the settings though. There is a way to kind of edit this to make it a little bit easier to use, but I'm going to go ahead and put fake species. And here is a nice place. You can also do species detected or species not detected. Something that this is really great for right now is spotted lanternfly. So if you are out in your house, out in Riverhead somewhere, and you have a tree of heaven in your yard, and you could take 10 minutes and like search that whole tree of heaven, and you say, great, didn't see any egg masses, adults, larvae, and you can say not detected. Or maybe you did see it and you hit species detected. And then it has the observation date. You have the GPS. Again, on here, you can change the base maps just to the satellite or a road map. Maybe that's easier for you. And this is something that's a little tricky, a little app based issue, but if you say you were somewhere else, maybe you uploaded the picture, like as I just did, I uploaded this photo. It didn't give me the GPS location, but I know where it is. So either maybe you already have the coordinates. That's great. That's probably easier to do, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're just in the woods and you're going to give a rough estimate of a spot that you were in. So what you want to do, I already clicked that. Okay, so you have the little yellow arrow there to say where you are. That's where I am right now. To be able to move this, you want to first unclick the GPS button up here. Now you're able to move it around. And then you want to click the little yellow arrow and you're going to drag it. But if maybe you were all the way on the other side of Long Island today, as many of us often are driving back and forth across the island, you want to zoom all the way out and then move it all the way down. And then you can zoom back in and find your location. You were somewhere in Sayville, and you kind of have to be gently move it around. And then you're going to re-click that yellow arrow so that it kind of locks in place there. So it's something definitely I encourage you guys to play around with it. I feel like me and Abby, we use these things a lot, and every day we still figure out new things about them. And they're always making it better. They're always updating these resources. So we're learning with you guys often. So then You can have your map projects, which is something you probably won't have. We have our organization, which is Long Island Invasive Species Management Area. Maybe you're part of an organization who is also collecting data and they want to track you using it as well. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. You have your time searched. Maybe you spent 10 minutes looking for that spotted lanternfly in your yard. Maybe you spent 5, maybe you spent 15. I'm going to put 10. The size of the area containing the invasive species. Maybe if it was a not detected species, you searched 10 square feet. If it is a detected species, maybe you saw spotted lanternfly all over. Maybe you saw tree of heaven up to 10 square feet. You saw up to half an acre, or more than an acre. We have the distribution of the invasive. So there might be trace, sparse, which is just scattered plant clumps, dense plant clumps, monoculture, or linearly scattered along a roadside. Maybe you just see a line of this campus just all along a roadside in a disturbed spot. You can add some comments, again, kind of like the comments Abby was talking about earlier. Maybe these are reasons to go and treat somewhere. Oftentimes, if I see beech leaf disease, I write in, I saw this along a trail, and maybe like, so we can keep in people's minds, that's an area we might need to do some management here because it's going to be a hazard quite soon if these trees come down, or how big the tree was. Really, anything you think might be important. Maybe something that helps you to ID this species if maybe it's a tricky species to ID. Anything. So you can go ahead and put whatever you want in there. Save. And then you go ahead and upload it. So you can upload a ton of them all at once. You can select all. You can unselect all of them. Maybe you have tons of species that you've collected in here. You were out looking at lots of trees that have maybe emerald ash borer or spotted lanternfly on them. Or you can just select them individually. Maybe you're just out in the field, you have Wi-Fi for a second, and you go ahead and upload it. So you're gonna click that little square underneath that little pencil, and then go to the hamburger menu at the top and hit upload selected. And it's gonna ask, are you sure? You're gonna hit okay. And it's gonna upload. And sometimes it takes a little while. It's good to be connected to Wi-Fi. Every now and again, I'll find I thought I uploaded a ton of species, a ton of beech leaf disease often. And then some of them will upload, and then I'll get some that get stuck in my outbox. That's okay. You can just go ahead and hit them again, and they'll be uploaded again. People are always looking at IMAP, and so if you submit something that looks identical, an identical record, it will be caught. So they're always being filtered. So nothing to worry about there. No need to panic. So we're going to go into the hamburger menu again. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw that. I swiped it away just instinctively, but I got a notification. I got my email notification that said a fake species was uploaded. So that's great. It worked. So yeah, so you can go into preferences. And if you want to change some things, maybe you moved and now you live and work in Oregon. I don't know, something like that. For some reason, you're changing your jurisdiction. You have your username, your email. So maybe your email's changed, the job you work that's changed, and you want these emails to go to somewhere else. Your password, and you can change it to display scientific names. So if you want that, you can just unclick that. If you don't want scientific names, unclick the scientific name so it's gray, not blue. If you want common names, make sure it's nice and blue. Maybe you want both of them so that it comes up as beech leaf disease, little Ancus crenata. Mostly for scientific species for now. You can customize your species list. This is really nice. Say you're somebody who's only looking at plants. You don't want to look at any bugs or pathogens, diseases. You're really only out there collecting data on bugs. You can go through. It might take you a minute. It's probably easier if you also, for me, for those things, to have common names on as well. Oh, okay, well, it doesn't bring up common names there, but that's fine. You can go through all of the Latin names and click which ones you want to see. Or maybe you're only looking for insects and pests, and this is going to make your list much smaller when you do go into iMapInvasives and submit a species. So you can go and click the ones you want. I'm going to leave them all on because we're always seeing lots of things. You can change your measurement system. Maybe you are not originally from here and you really prefer the metric system, or you're just of better standards than we are. And you can change that to the metric system. I'll keep it feet acres since I'm not. So if you want, maybe you have multiple projects and you want it to go to a default project. I don't have any project set, which is fine. No big deal. You can have a default organization. Mine's Lisma. I don't have any others. Maybe you work under and with multiple organizations. So you can set the default organization that you want. When you upload it, it'll say Haley Gladich from Lisma, not Haley Gladich from, I don't know, some other maybe volunteer organization that set up an account. And at the bottom, something you might want to do once you've uploaded this and you've worked with it a lot, you'll oftentimes when you log in, it'll give you these welcome instructions, these little like sketches of like welcome and like upload here. And you can turn those back. You can turn those off. It'll look like this when you go in. And I'm going to leave them off because I don't like to see them. And then be sure to hit save. And that's pretty much iMapInvasives mobile app. So if I click through that too quickly, feel free to let me know. And if you have any questions, I will, oh, can you input the scientific name instead of scrolling for the name? Yeah, no, just if you want to do that. Say like, yeah, if you're someone who's like, maybe you're only ever going out looking for like spotted lanternfly and you just want that one species there every time, that's what you can do, or just have a handful, but you can't just search, unfortunately, not yet, maybe one day. We can be hopeful. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the Imap mobile app otherwise. So with that, I think we'll just wrap up Imap and then we'll go on ahead and talk about, oh, you want me to look at the species in the app? Sure. Add observation. Or you can't look at species in the mobile app like you can in the app. That's a great question. Like you only use the mobile app when you're uploading a species. So like you're not going to get the whole map feature. You're just there. It's just a tool. It's just like, it's almost as if you're out there with pencil and paper saying, yes, I saw this species, as opposed to going and getting data about the species in your area. Like how many am I around it? Am I in an area with a lot of spotted lanternfly? You could go into your web browser on your phone and bring up iMapInvasives.
That's what I was about to say. You can do that, and it actually is mobile friendly, so it's pretty easy to go into the on your phone on the browser to look up the map and search from there too.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
Yeah, and maybe if your organization that you're with has like ArcGIS connections, you can upload something like this would be like a whole other presentation talking about Imap Mobile Advanced. And then you could have access to maps like that would have different species in there. And it's a great resource. We use it a lot, but it's a whole other thing. Yeah.
But if that sounds like what you need, let us know, and we could do a part 2 someday talking about that.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to. And it would be really great to hear about organizations that want to use Imap Mobile Advanced, or if you're, I know this is an Arborist app, but if you want to use SAS Pro for simple aquatic surveys, so all those things fall into that category. So that's the thing about that makes this app great. Do you only use the mobile app when you have Wi-Fi? You actually don't need any Wi-Fi to use iMapInvasives mobile, because you're just writing. It's like almost writing with pencil and paper. You're just adding the observation. But then when you actually want to upload it, you should have Wi-Fi or some sort of internet connection.
You could probably do it on data, but then it's using your data, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But like if you were in the middle of the woods, you had no data, no internet connection, you could still make all of these inputs, all this. You can submit all of these species without worrying that they're not going to save. They will save.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. Any other questions about the Imap mobile app? Cool. We can always, and if you ever have trouble with Imap, something isn't working well, or you've forgotten and you can't find the answer anywhere, you can always reach out to us, and we can help you out with Imap as much as we can. How many Long Island users of IMapInvasives are there? Do you know? Just curious. Me too. Do we know? Are there, can we see that? Probably. We could probably ask them.
Yeah, I know the people to ask.
Yeah, I would know who to see, and that's what I mean. If you have questions like this, there is answers, but they just might not be like publicly available, but they could be. Yeah, that'd be cool. That kind of brings us to talking about iNaturalist a little more and why like it's a similar but quite a different resource slash community. Yeah, I think we're gonna do the phone app first since I'm already on the phone.
Oh, you're right.
So, but yeah, but IMAP, just to wrap up IMAP a little bit, it's a really great tool for professionals like yourself who are out and about, you know how to identify a species directly, to notify the organizations like us, like CCE, like the DEC, who are curious and they're monitoring and they're doing research on these species. It's really great to have all these organizations working together and to be aware of these efforts so we're not doubling efforts. It's kind of part of the coordination aspect of what we're trying to do here. But that being said, we'll talk about another app that's going to do something similar. But we use both, so both are great. Yeah, so I'll bring up my phone again. I just need to find Zoom. Share screen. Okay, grand. And we're going to head over to iNaturalist. And so iNaturalist, we'll go through the login process first, but I just kind of want you guys to be first familiar with the phone application because it's what you're going to see the most. In the web browser can just be overwhelming to look at first. And it's probably, I don't know, maybe you'll use it more than we do. I don't know. I've never really met anyone who uses it to upload, but it's quite easy to upload things on there. That being said, we'll, when you log into iNaturalist, it'll likely bring you to this page or a page that looks like this with all of your species, depending on, I think if you have an iPhone or an Android. If you have an Android, it'll probably look like this. But on an iPhone, it'll bring you to your to all of your observations in the Me section, as opposed to in the Explore section. So when you log right in, you see a species, you're out in the field, and you want to go ahead and take a photo. You could also go ahead with no photo, but we'll talk about why it's great to have photos / sounds if you're a bird person and you want to know the different birds in your area. So you can go and take a photo with your camera, or you can go to your photo library. Again, I have my whitewood asters that I've taken some photos of in my yard. And so you can add up to 4 photos in iNaturalist. iNaturalist, just to back up, it's another very similar plant, fungi, animal. You can really put in anything that you see outside in here, and it will help you to not only document what you're seeing, but to help you identify what you're seeing, which is really crucial to a lot of what we do. I know a lot of us are great with plants, we're great with bugs, or maybe we're great with one of those groups, but maybe not all of them. Maybe there's always more to see and learn. So that's why I think this is such a great resource. So you're going to go ahead and you can click on the different species or the different photos. I have 4. I took some photos of the petals, of the stems and leaves, and maybe like a nice habit photo of what they all look like all together. So then they'll bring you to what did you see? And the thing about iNaturalist is that it's been around for a little while. And so it's really great about, it already has this algorithm built in. So it already knows these are whitewood asters, and it gives you a guess of the genus. And then based on what your area is, it'll show you whitewood aster. That's its best guess. And I think it's right. And even if you aren't sure, it's always great to put in something. That way it kind of gets out to the people that are maybe know plants best. They know that genus really well, and they can help to say, yeah, that's a whitewood aster. Oh, actually, I disagree. And that can be really helpful to also kind of like foster that community within iNaturalist, which I think is really great. So there you go. And you can set the default photo. Maybe you want the flowers to be that default photo that everyone sees up first. Maybe you want it to be more of the leaves. Maybe you want it that larger habit photo. Then you can go in and add some notes. Maybe you said you want to say that it was growing underneath a specific type of tree, or maybe it was growing alongside a specific other type of organism, a specific mushroom was nearby, or an animal, or it was growing in a wet spot or a dry spot, a shady spot, like these different things that help people to, aside from looking at it. But as a person who knows plants, which I'm sure many of you are, you oftentimes best know a species based on where it's living, not just the organism alone. That really can help to make or break an ID in iNaturalist, since other people are going to help you confirm the species. It will bring up the date and time of your photo taken, as well as automatically geolocate you. You can turn the privacy to open, obscured, or private. Maybe you don't mind everyone seeing exactly where you found this specific tree or plant. Great, that's awesome. Maybe you want it obscured. You want people to know you found it, but you don't want them necessarily knowing exactly where you found it. Maybe it's in somebody's private property, that you don't want everyone knowing where that is. People often do it with mushrooms, like chicken of the woods for choice mushrooms, maybe mushroom hunters. And they want people to know they found it, but they don't want people to know where it is. You can also just set it to private. Maybe this is more for your personal catalog of plants that you found or bugs. You don't want people to know maybe a pest that might be something that might be controversial. So you can keep it private. I'll keep it open. You can also change captive or cultivated. So maybe it was a Coosa dogwood that you saw in somebody's yard. In that case, you'd hit yes. Maybe it was a Coosa dogwood you saw in the forest. That's interesting to us. And we want to know whether it was captive or not, if it was planted somewhere or not. And there's also projects, which we can talk more about in a minute. Projects, although like as it says at the top, they will be automatically uploaded to the projects that you're assigned to if you're a part of the project. So you don't need to worry about the projects too much. And then you can go ahead and hit share. And it'll upload. Sometimes they get stuck in here and you might see a little cloud next to your species. And then you will just hit the cloud button and it'll upload it. And it might take a minute, but you have plenty of your species on here and you see these little messages in the corner. And what's great about iNaturalist is that, like I said, people are helping you to ID these things. So I saw a little silver rod in my neighborhood just yesterday and somebody confirmed my identification of it. So I'm just seeing all these little threads of how many comments slash like confirmations, or maybe somebody that said, actually, I don't think that's that species. So I saw American burrweed and somebody actually said, they helped me identify it and they said, look out, there's another species in that area you might want to see. So that's why this kind of goes beyond just identifying plants and animals. It's also people that are kind of working together to better enjoy and understand our natural environment, which is really cool. But with that, all the data that's on here, as it gets confirmed, it becomes research grade. So I have these, I put a swamp rose in here and nobody's confirmed it. So it says needs ID. And then all the way at the right, there's that research grade. And when things become research grade, that's when it becomes able to be used in research. People around the world can take this data and use it in different research. I know we use it across Long Island to look at invasive species. We have a lot of projects to set up to see the different tiers of invasive species. If you've put in a tier 2 invasive species, we get notifications for those. Maybe you've put in a tier 4 invasive species. And if we're going to one of those areas that maybe we're curious about all the invasive species in that area, we can also search for those as well. But people across the world, like I said, are using this. There's some really cool projects going on with iNaturalist, like knowing the northernmost and southernmost ranges of plants is one really cool project that's using tons and tons of iNaturalist data. So beyond just making these observations because you want to see, like, what's this plant in my yard? What's this bug in my yard? You're also contributing to a large set of data that is, helping us better understand our world, which is really cool. But that's pretty much iNaturalist on the phone. You can also go to your Explore page. This is where you can see all those other things around you. So it might take a minute to load, but I can see in my neighborhood, there's all these different colored arrows, map points. And so all the different colors mean different types of species. So green is plants, red, I believe, is mushrooms. Blue is, no, that was me actually. But they all have different meanings, and clearly I constantly forget what they are.
I have never been able to figure out the colors myself,
Yeah,
so I'm not sure what the meanings are.
I guess bugs and mushrooms are red. Maybe the mushrooms are a slightly different color red and my eyes can't fully catch it. But yeah, there's different meanings. I believe maybe blue is unknown. Blue is something that hasn't been just like figured out yet, but this would be poison ivy. We can get into a whole conversation of, taking a great photo so somebody knows what you're looking at. Like this photo, I don't think I would know what they want to know. Maybe they want to know about the poison ivy. Maybe they want to know about the Virginia creeper. But yeah, trying to take, like, remember, there's people who are actively going in and helping you identify it. So you want to be as helpful as possible to them. And yeah, it makes it a lot easier when you do. If you point to it, if you put a little ruler next to it, those things are great. You also see your activity page, which is similar to your notifications. It, again, shows you just what people have said to you. And that's pretty much it on the phone. So I just want to hop over to the web browser really quickly. I'll stop sharing on here. And I will hop over here, share screen. And we'll talk about logging in and signing up, since I feel like a lot of people have used on their phones, just making a website or logging into a website on their phone from an app. You can download the app anywhere, from like the Apple Store or Android Store.
It's also free.
It's also free. That is true. And again, it's by National Geographic and the California Academy of Sciences. And you can, when you sign up over here, you just put in your email, username, password, and your robot confirmation. And something they do is that you can ask for, you can send, so people can use photo, sounds, observations, so scientists can use your data. You can consent iNaturalist to the, all the different types of things that you're doing, your personal information, as everyone is looking for these days, and just agreeing to the terms of policy. Create your account. I'm just going to log in though. With my account, it's already logged in. You can use Facebook, Apple, Google, all the good things. Log in, and it brings you to this page, this big white page, where if you want, maybe you saw a bunch of observations, you don't have a smartphone, you just want to use your digital camera, you're out in the field, you can add your observations here. You can drag and drop files. I had my beach leaf disease ones up here, so I'll double click, bring them in, and you can go ahead and type in what you saw. So I saw, I was confused there for a second, beach leaf disease. Great. Or if you're not sure what it is as well, it'll load the suggestions for you. It might do that slowly. Okay. So it wasn't sure what you're looking at in terms of the disease aspect of it, but it knows it was an American beach. So that's pretty good. But I want it to know that it was beach leaf disease. And you can go and you can add all your notes. It knows that I took this, June 16th, what a long time ago now. Was it captive or cultivated? All the good stuff. And you can go ahead and hit share. I don't want to submit this though, just because I've submitted these before. I don't want anyone to be alarmed. So I'm just going to go back to the home page. And yeah, there's lots of things you can see in here. Something you can do, maybe you're concerned about spotted lanternfly like we are, and you can subscribe to different taxa. So maybe you want to add one. What's something I haven't added? What's the boxwood? Boxwood, Cytolema. What was it? Cytolema?
Box tree moth. See if that's in there.
Box tree moth. Thank you. Yeah, and it is. So I'm going to hit save, and now I'll get notifications anytime somebody submits a box tree moth, and those will go casual grade as well. So I'll get a lot of, I haven't set up for a beach leaf disease right now, so I get a lot of like as soon as somebody, I think I get the notifications at like 7 a.m. So I'll be like working out and I'll get my like iNaturalist notification and I'll stop and I'll like look at all the different ones people have done and I'll confirm them if I think they're good. Maybe I'll leave a comment and say like, hey, I can't really see this that well. Like, can you go back and get another picture? Or like, why did you think it was beach leaf disease? You know, you can talk to people on here, which is really great. You can also subscribe it to certain places. So I have it set to Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County, and then New York City for these specific species. So you can subscribe to a place. So Long Island, there's a lot of like, it'll show a lot of different things for Long Island. So I usually just put in Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County. And then taxon, we can do that. Boxwood.
Haley, Vicky asks, where are you to access this feature?
Great question, Vicky. Thank you. So this is right on your homepage. As soon as you log in, you'll just go from your homepage. It says iNaturalist.org/home. You can scroll down past the forum on the sidebar, and it says in big letters subscription. And you can hit subscribe to a taxon in the blue box here, or subscribe to a place. And then in the main row of information over here, this is all of your notifications. So I get lots of spotted lanternfly notifications, but these are also, I have it set to spotted lanternfly everywhere also. So I'm just seeing a lot of them from like Delaware, New Jersey. But then if I have a notification, let's see if there's one, and this one's in the Bronx. So this was September 23rd. So I can view the observation right here. And it shows me spotted lanternfly. It's already research grade, everyone's on it. People are commenting on it. And you can see a lot of different things. You can add attributes. So if you zoom in on the photo, you can look at it more and you can say, oh yeah, they look alive. They look alive to me. And you can say, yeah, they're alive. Or maybe somebody smashed it dead. That's great. That's something nice that we can do for spotted lanternfly. The life stage, they're an adult. So these are things that I'm doing as an observer. Evidence of presence, the organism. It wasn't a mold to scat or track. It was the actual organism. And then this is other ways people can interact with this observation. I don't know if it was male or female, but yeah, there's lots of different ways you can interact with iNaturalist. You can also see on the map over here, you can zoom in and look at, these are all observations of spotted lanternfly in New York right now. And so you can like, I think I can make this a little bigger. Oh, very big now. So this is where spotted lanternfly is currently, according to iNaturalist. These are just people who are using iNaturalist. So the furthest one we have right now is Ronkonkoma. That was from last year though. So, but yeah, we're keeping an eye on them. And something I want to see if I can do. So if I click on spotted lanternfly there, just the big letters, you can just search just a species in here if you just want more information on it. I believe you could just do it in here as well at the top search bar. Yeah, view observations or about. So I'm at the about page. So people sometimes will just like link that about page and then observation. It'll come up when you agree with something. So yeah, so you can, what I do sometimes is I can see, this is just in Nassau County. It's showing me all the observations in Nassau, and I can change this to, if I want to just see Suffolk County. And it shows me there's only been 2. The last observation was September 7th. Let's see, view all. It'll bring you to the map. And I can go in and see that observation. And click on it. Great. And so it's already research grade, but something you want to do when you're looking at something that you definitely know what it is, as people who are out and looking at plants and know plants and bugs really well and diseases, you can hit agree, and you're just improving the quality of the data. So that's something you can do. People talk a lot about on spotted lanternfly posts. Oftentimes you'll see Tom Allgaier on there from Department of Ag Markets linking to his survey. So he's somebody who's a professional in the field who's using iNaturalist every single day. So it's a really cool tool. So just back to the home page, if I just go back to the big iNaturalist logo, and you want to look at your observations, you can see them here. Places you've been. It's kind of a nice way to keep like a journal of all the different organisms you've seen. People who have helped you identify things, all sorts of information here. You can also look at places of interest. You can search by places, species. Say you just want to look at Long Island, and you can view observations. There's a whole lot you can do in iNaturalist, and I feel like we're learning more and more every day about it. You can go here if you want to look at, say we want to look at Long Island here, view observations, and it's just going to take a minute to load because there's going to be lots of observations. Okay, cool. And you want to filter it. And you want to look at, let's look at, what are these? Arachnids, okay, insects. We want verifiable. We want the name. So we're gonna look up boxwood moth. If it'll load. I think it's being a little slow. More filters.
Box tree moth.
Box tree moth, sorry.
Yeah, 3 separate words.
Box tree moth. So it's not loading there, but that's fine. That should come up. And then the different rank, okay. You can choose if you're looking for specific classes, and you can look at when it was added. Say you're only looking at this year, maybe you're only looking at last year. And yeah, so there's lots of different ways. A lot of times I go on here and I look at just everything that's been introduced. So yeah, you can go in, update and search. No results found. Let's try, maybe it's not in that one. We want to do, okay. Ooh, loading slowly. Let's do species up here. And then box tree moth view. Okay, it would take you back to the Suffolk County thing. So mostly I feel like the filter is best if you're not necessarily looking for a species. You're mostly just focusing on tags, or you're looking at projects, or just like a broad range of things. But that's pretty much it in iNaturalist. And these are just your notifications up at the top. Yeah, there's tons of other things. We could spend a lot more time on this, but I don't want to overkill you guys with a lot of just clicking around. But yeah, it's a really great resource. Again, we use it quite often. I know I interact with several people who are on this call often on iNaturalist. So it's kind of funny. People I've almost never met in real life, but they're my iNaturalist friends. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We have a lot of questions.
Some conversations.
Okay. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about iNaturalist, they can feel free to shout it out or ask it in the chat. Great. Why IMAP if you do iNat? Good question.
iMapInvasives is better. It's not Well, for mapping things, it's not redundant because iNaturalist doesn't give you the ability to do like lines or polygons in the way that iMap does. Say that right? iNaturalist, you can't do that. And iMapInvasives, you can. So there's more capabilities with iMapInvasives, and it's designed for invasive species. We like to promote iNaturalist because it's, if you don't know what you're looking at, it has the technology and a really great community to help you identify something. But if you do know, it's probably most efficient to be using iMapInvasives. Do you want to add anything to that, Haley?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Yeah. Yeah, I think IMAP, again, like IMAP has all of these different capacities that we use that connecting to ArcGIS. And it's, iNaturalist can be a little finicky when you're out in the field. You do need to be connected to Wi-Fi to upload your observations, or to like, if you're not sure about something, if you're in a place where there's no internet connection, you might take a photo and you can save it for later and upload it later, as opposed to just being out in the field doing IMAP and you see something and you want to make sure it's automatically saving to the app. So there's just kind of some technical differences there as well. It's not necessarily redundant, but if we see, a lot of beach leaf disease in iNaturalist somewhere, maybe we want to go check out and then do a more extensive mapping in iMapInvasives on our own.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's no such thing as a not detected record for iNaturalist, but that's really important to the work that we do, to be able to say we looked for something and we didn't find it. Possibly also useful to your work too. As
well as treatment records.
And treatment records, of course. Yeah, you can't do any treatments in iNaturalist that there's nothing to treat.
Mm-hmm. You can just say if you see a spotted lanternfly and you squished it, that's the best you can do in iNaturalist. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the end, I think, of our discussion on this. I know we might have gone over time, but wanted to open up to Mina and Marjorie for talking about some pests and I guess answer questions that you guys have about that.
Hey Haley, hey Abby, that was a great training session. I'm pretty excited about iNaturalist in particular now. I don't really use iMapInvasives too much, but I had downloaded iNaturalist a long time ago, but I tend to use Google Lens a lot because I like to test its capabilities, and I find that most of the time it's correct. But I like the community aspect of iNaturalist, so I'm certainly going to start using that a lot more. Considering it's about 8:30, I think, I don't know about you, Margie, but I know that in the email announcements, I told people that it would end at 8:30. And in terms of ISA credits, that's the official ending time. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves and have some comments or some direct questions about beach leaf disease or spotted lanternfly, I think between the four of us, or between the whole gang of us, I think there's a total of 17 of us, we'll be able to answer any questions. Otherwise, I think if you are good to call it a night, we can do that. So if you would like to sign out, please go ahead and sign out. And thank you for attending this training session. So Margie, I'll pass it on to you if you wanted to say any last minute comments as well.